the hardest phase and the hardest time that you're going to have as an employee is going to be when you're unemployed. I'm talking now about your employee mindset. You got an employee mindset, you've got entrepreneurial mindset. So when you are an employee mindset person and you go out and do massive cold outreach in order for you to get 2 or 3 jobs, understand that you are now tapping into the entrepreneurial side of things for a short period of time. This is the hardest part about being an employee, and you want to get out of that situation as fast as possible. Let's get right into how to not get fired. Because when you have done all of that hard work to get a job or 2 or 3, you don't want to return back to that situation of unemployment. And now you have to go out and chase jobs again. Don't get fired. So first of all, we have to realize that when you actually join a company as an employee, you will either be a net positive, okay, an additional benefit to the company, or you will produce a net loss. You want to always make sure that you are a net positive to the company and never ever a net loss to the company. Let's describe those two aspects. Net positive means that the company is making a profit on you. Yeah, that's right. That's how it works, okay? And probably they're making 5 times more than they pay you. And that's okay because they gave you a job where you're getting instantly paid within this month for value that you created. That's okay. If you are an entrepreneur, okay, then you will one day have the opportunity of having people who have fears of being entrepreneurs, and because of that, they'll be working for you instead of you working for them or you working for anyone else. It takes courage to be an entrepreneur. It takes courage to freaking employ people. Okay, so as a result, that person that does employ people should be making way more than the person that didn't have the courage to start his own business and employ people himself and successfully managed to do so over an extended period of time without going bankrupt. The entrepreneurs of society need to be massively rewarded for their work, or else they won't provide solutions for the people. And you as an employee are going to suffer. When you go home and you stop by the supermarket and you buy this thing and you buy this tool and you watch Netflix and you do this, that, and the other, all of the solutions around you were created by entrepreneurs, and you are a consumer, right? You're not a producer. You might be producing at your work, and great, and hopefully you're producing more than you're actually consuming, right? But entrepreneurs, they produce way more than they consume. Way more. And as a result, they're massively rewarded for it. So let's go back to the aspect of you being in either a net positive or a net loss to a company. It comes from a monetary situation. It comes from an environment situation, meaning you actually become toxic to that environment that they've got going on. Most workplace environments, by the way, are toxic. There's gossiping, there's backbiting, there's leaders, managers yelling at employees. There's all sorts of crap, okay? Most people don't have people skills. The higher up in the echelons of society, the more people skills there are going to be. It's pretty crazy how that works. But most jobs won't have that situation. But you should not be adding to the fire of toxicity at your workplace. So if you're bringing a net loss to the company in terms of an environmental aspect, you're the problem. If you've been fired from 3 jobs or 5 jobs or 10 jobs in a row, then you're probably the common denominator, and you're the one that's the problem, and you were rightfully fired. You want to make sure that you always produce a net positive for the company when it comes to money and when it comes to the environment. You also want to make sure you're a net positive for your leader's brain, your manager's brain, your CEO's brain. Every single time they hear about you, they hear so much good stuff. They hear, man, he's always on time. He does everything that he's supposed to do. And even if he's failing a little bit, I can see his progress because he's trying to learn in his free time. He's trying to do whatever he can in order for him to keep his job, and not only keep his job, but thrive in his job. No one fires a person like that. If you are a massive net positive, the more net positive you are, the more indispensable you make yourself, because it's not a lot of guys at any company that have that type of aspect. Most people are in a situation of kind of in the gray zone. Should they be fired? Should they be not? But they're kept around because it costs a lot of money to hire new people and train them. So you want to make sure that you're massive net positive, because you will be offered more money for doing the exact same job that you're doing, not even for a promotion. You will just get more money for just doing what you're doing if you're doing it in an indispensable manner, meaning they can't get rid of you because you're doing such a freaking great job. And it's so hard to replace you. That's the kind of person you want to be. So let's go a little bit deeper into the aspect of not getting fired. Well, first of all, you want to prevent being fired in the first place. So don't be hired by a company that easily fires you. And let me explain how that works. If you join a job from an agency perspective, meaning you were so lazy, no offense, but you were lazy to the point where you wanted someone else to find a job for you rather than you actually hunting for a job. You know what that's going to do? That means that they negotiated your salary for you. So you might be paid the exact same amount, but guess what? The agency is probably being paid a 20% or 30% or 50% premium for having brought you on board. Who's the first person, or who are the first people that are going to be fired on a job in a company when times get tough? It's the people that have the highest salaries that produce the exact same amount of production as those with 50% or 30% less salaries, right? And usually agency workers are the ones that came in last, meaning they've got the least experience and least training in the company and are costing the most. They're the ones that go out the door first. This puts you in a very vulnerable situation. So yes, it's fine if you've been hired by an agency to work with, first of all, but you need to do everything you can in your power to retain that job and get a direct communication and a direct line of employment from your company so that you can take out the middleman eventually once that contract expires. This is going to massively benefit you because you're probably going to get a raise. That's one. But also number two, they're going to want to keep you because you've proven to yourself that you're indispensable to the company, that they went through the hassle of employing you directly instead of hiring through the agency. The next aspect that I want to discuss is making sure that you never steal from your employer. Now, a lot of people might say, well, I would never steal from an employer. Oh my gosh. I know guys, okay, that have stolen from their jobs. Don't ever be in that situation, okay? Whether you're caught or not doesn't matter. You should never steal from your employer. Now, that's from a aspect of, taking money from the cash register or whatever. I'm not talking about that necessarily. I'm talking mostly about stealing your employer's time. And what that means is basically that you're calling in sick when you're not supposed to. In most first world countries, you actually, the company has to keep paying you even though you didn't show up if you have a normal, regular, full-time job. And they have to pay someone to replace you in the job that you've got, meaning they've got to probably pay that person 1.5 times or 2 times more than what you cost, which means that to solve your problem cost them 3 times the amount than just having you show up for work. You don't want to miss any days of work ever. Don't get sick. If you're getting sick, you're becoming a net loss for your company. You want to make sure that you're sharp and ready to go on a daily basis. And the way that you make that happen is making sure that you have a fantastic sleep routine, that you go to bed early, and that you get up early as well. And that you eat healthily and wholesomely, and that you also exercise. Be sharp so that you keep your job. Another aspect is making sure that you're never ever late. If you're late, you're stealing from your employer again. Those minutes, You know that when you arrive at work, it's going to take you a little bit of time to kind of get into the flow of things, right? Those initial 20 minutes, 30 minutes that it takes for you to actually get in the flow of things at work, why should your employer be paying for that? Plus, in additionally, if you're 5 minutes late, he has to pay for that as well. And the last aspect on this part is don't just sit around and chat to coworkers all day about nonsense. Do your job and do it well. If you do that, you're most probably not going to get fired very easily. And then I want to mention the aspect of being insubordinate. Okay, so what does that mean? It basically means that your boss is wanting you to do something, and you're choosing to either say no, or doing it disheartedly, or not wanting to do it, or putting up a fight every time he asks you to do something. This is going to be a net loss in the leader's brain, in the manager's brain. You don't want to cause that problem, because that means that he now has to fight you and potentially have to also find someone else to do that job that he needed you to do, and you're now wasting his time trying to find someone to solve that problem that is a massive high priority for him, and you're giving him a hard time. Don't be an insubordinate at work. That manager, that leader has probably been there way longer than you. And even if he hasn't, it doesn't matter. He's more qualified for that position that he's received. You might think he's not, but the fact that you are actually insubordinate of your manager and your leader shows that you definitely should not be in his position. Because if you're insubordinate to him, you're probably going to be insubordinate to his leader. So you don't deserve his position, no matter how smart or intelligent you are, right? Just make sure that you're not insubordinate, because over time, your boss will actually like you. If you follow orders well, your boss will like you. People like people that actually are followers, right? Now, if you want to be a leader, then you need to butt heads in some aspect in a healthy and people-skilled manner, because then you show that, hey, maybe this solution would be a great idea. I understand that you brought this solution to the table. What do you think about this? Now, if they turn down your idea, you got to be okay with it. It is what it is. This is how corporate world works. And if you don't want to be in the corporate world of climbing and trying to share ideas and then they just massively get turned down all the freaking time, that means that you probably should be an entrepreneur, because guess what? When you are building a business, you're the one who gets to make all of the decisions. It's freaking awesome, isn't it? And that's what you should be thinking about and doing. So, in other words, have a cheerful attitude at all times and in all places. Having 3 horrible jobs with massive toxicity, with managers who suck, with leaders who suck, with colleagues that are absolutely horrible, this is the best thing for your future. This is amazing. Because guess what? In the future, when you do start your business, you're going to have co-founders, partners, you're going to have employees, and you're going to have clients who absolutely and ridiculously suck. How are you going to handle that when it's in your own business? Well, guess what? The worse those people are in your current circumstance right now, the more easily you're going to manage those people that are going to be in the future in your business, and you're going to tackle it very well and not lose a bunch of money because you screw people over and have bad people skills and weren't prepared because of experience. Okay? Suck the value out of your current jobs right now of having difficult situations, difficult co-employees and clients and all that stuff, because that's going to be a part of life for a very long time. Over time, you'll develop a better social circle outside of work, but just in business in general, you meet everyday people, and everyday people have lousy attitudes, they have crappy lives, and they're just trying to get by. And they meet you, and you have to take their crap, right? So understand that it's a blessing to have all of these issues and problems in your current job situation, because it's going to teach you and harden you and get you better prepared for the future things that are going to happen in the future. All right. Another aspect here then is also don't piss off a long-term employee who's been there for a long period of time and who is doing a net positive. Okay. If you have a massive net positive, but you've been there a shorter time than someone who is doing a net negative, but it's kind of in the gray area, the bosses are going to keep that long-term employee more than you. Yeah, it's messed up, but that's how it is because they feel that he has more experience, even though they might not see what's happening in the trenches and on the ground floor, and you'll get fired as a result of not getting along with that guy. Try to get along with everyone. I remember one time when back in the day when I got 3 jobs, right? There was a guy who had in his locker a prom picture. Like, everything was out there and the locker was open. And, I kind of felt that it was in my right, wrongfully, to tear that down. Maybe I should have communicated directly with him. Like, could you, close your locker? Do you mind if I close your locker for you? That type of people skills type thing. But instead, I just ripped down the entire prom picture because I didn't want it in my face. And then I got in trouble, and pretty much I was the one that was asked to leave to a different department. I didn't get fired, but I got a lot less shifts as a result of me causing a problem because that employee got pissed because that was his favorite prom picture. What the flip, okay? That didn't make any sense. I was definitely creating a better net positive to the environment, to the monetary situation in that job. But it is what it is. This is how it works. So just make sure you don't piss anyone off and always have a cheerful attitude and thumbs up. The vast majority of the time that you get fired is that you quit. Don't quit. That's the worst way to get fired. See, if someone wants to fire you, you're making their job easy by quitting. You should keep working there for as long as possible. You know why? Because no matter how much they want to fire you, they can't in most first world countries without a reasonable excuse or reason. Don't give them reason to be able to fire you. If you quit, you're making them happy, okay? If you're created a net loss situation. Now, obviously, you don't want to get to the point where you're creating a net loss situation, but if you are, during the time frame that you're trying to get to the point where you're producing a net positive, don't quit. Oh, I hated the boss so much, and so I wanted to find a different job. The only reason why you should ever quit a job, no matter how toxic, no matter how horrible, no matter, how tiring that job is, the only time you should quit a job ever is if you've replaced that income with something else. Either a different job that's better or have the potential of being better, or that you started a business and that business managed to replace the income from that job and you're just like, okay, I'm done with this job. Okay, see you later, sayonara, I quit, I leave. I didn't quit my job before I had replaced my income in it. Ever. In 2016, that's when I quit my job. October, I called my boss during the weekend, said I'm not coming in on Monday. I didn't do that before I had replaced that income because I have a wife and three kids, for crying out loud. I couldn't quit that job before I had replaced that income. And so since I had replaced that income, things could actually work, okay? Despite me quitting. Although in my opinion, I should have probably worked there longer. But what I'm trying to tell you is don't quit prematurely. That's the easiest way to get fired because you're doing it for them. So don't do that. Make sure that you replace your incomes first. This is all about simply keeping your job so you don't have to be an entrepreneur in trying to get a job. You can be an entrepreneur in trying to get business. And once you get business, you can replace the jobs. And once you have a business that's sustainable, you can replace those jobs forever. That's what you want to do. I'm so fired up about sharing these concepts with you. I hope you understand them very well and that you apply them to your life because information without implementation is worthless. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.